We have a special guest speaker here for our keynote over lunch. Art Estopinan is a very interesting guy. He brings an interesting story because he works on the Hill and has worked there for a long time, but he's also a rare disease advocate because he's directly affected by that. Please welcome Art Estopinan.
Thank you, Dean, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And thank you for listening to my son's story. I'm sure that, it's replicated here over and over again. So it's a great pleasure and honor, and I'll be here for a little while in case you have any individual questions later on after we do the Q&A. Also, Grant passed around a newsletter that all of you may have received already. It's called the TK2 Columbia Research Fund, which we were able to establish last year. We were able to raise $230,000 because there's no federal funding. Again, for many of you, I'm sure that these rare diseases, it's the same story over and over again. And we're hoping that the medicines will get a little bit stronger, and the doctors have told us that they're optimistic that they will find a cure. So not only will hopefully our son will be saved, but hopefully many other babies in the future. And part of my effort is to educate pediatricians, because a lot of them do not know about this disease. It's so rare. My wife's uncle is a pediatrician in Spain. He's been practicing for 40 years, and he's never heard of it. And our pediatrician is also a very distinguished pediatrician. He's been practicing probably close to 40 years, and we had to convince him that there was something wrong with our son. And again, probably you guys as parents, have experienced this as well. So this is, why things happen the way that they do, no one knows, but hopefully our mission is to save our baby, and who's now 3 years old. Thank you. It was a really special celebration. We had 2 Saturdays ago, and we invited some of the kids in the building because we had to relocate to Baltimore, close to Hopkins, Johns Hopkins, which is where he's receiving the daily care. He was hospitalized for 13 months in the pediatric ICU there. So that was our second home. And they were, they have a great team, and we become experts because we've told the doctor, well, no, he doesn't look that good today. Maybe he needs something different. And my wife and I are not doctors, but all of a sudden we know our son, and we talk to respiratory therapists, and again, the same story over and over again. But anyways, I just wanted to pass this out so that you could have an idea of what he has been through, and as far as he has been able to come. The doctor, as I mentioned in the video, told us, it's only a matter of a couple of months when they gave us the diagnosis in July of 2012. And I told her, doctor, thank you for the diagnosis, which took 3 months. I told her, thank you, but I could guarantee you that my wife and I will do everything we can to make sure that our son doesn't die. And that's what I did, but everyone told me no treatment and no medication until we were able to find this team. So this is some information. The doctors are back here in case you may know anyone with a myocardial disease or anything that could be helpful. They're a great team, and part of the problem is that it takes a long time to get the diagnosis, and at this time we saw him deteriorate very aggressively. So Julia has been great. She invited me here to share my experience, which I really appreciate, Julia, and also she is a great advocate for patients with rare diseases, and her organization is wonderful because you need organization. In Congress, each member and staff is bombarded by hundreds of issues. And you need organizations such as the Rare Disease Legislative Advocate to help you focus and get folks that know the ins and outs on how to get things done on the Hill. So I'm very, very happy to share my experience, and this is part of my mission where God has taken me to, so I'm very happy to be here. If I had one word to describe what you need to do as a parent advocate, is education. This is an educational process. As I mentioned, members are bombarded with hundreds of domestic and foreign issues, groups, meetings all the time. So education is what I would say the key focus. What I would suggest is you start off by contacting the district director of your member of Congress and your senator. So I apologize, I don't have a presentation to put it up, but I was a teacher for a couple of years before entering the political realm, so I'll speak slowly so you could write it. Not that you need to, but my students used to say, Mr. Estopinan, please slow down, slow down. I'm Cuban background, so we speak very fast. So contact your district director in your members' offices, whether it's your congressman or your senators. That's what I would do. And then, secondly, and at the same time, contact the chief of staff, legislative director, and the legislative assistant that deals with healthcare issues for your member. And then I would lastly contact the member as like the third meeting. And just keep in mind that there are they're moving targets. So just think that they're gonna give you between 10 and 15 minutes. So keep your meeting as concise and as brief as possible, because you have a lot of information that you need to give them, but they will probably have, because of the time limitations, have 10 to 15 minutes. So keep that in mind. That's very important. And what I would do is, during the meeting, I would ask for a specific request, whether you want your member to sign a dear colleague on your loved one's decease, or you would like them to attend a meeting such as this to be educated. Because remember, everything that you're doing is part of the educational process. And then information. The material that you're gonna give to them, you should give them a handout with bullet points on your loved one's decease, and then after that, what it is that they could do to help, something to that effect. But it has to be as concise as possible, because of all the materials that we get, it will not be read, most likely. So I just want you to be effective and to make sure that they understand what it is that you are going to, that you're asking. And then as far as the specific request, sometimes you may be working with a national group like the Muscular Dystrophy Association or the American Heart Association, or whomever you're working with, and they could help you coordinate that, because it's important that for follow-ups you get involved with national groups to help you make the request a little bit more effective. And letters of support are very important. If you could get either your church group, or if you could get other parents, your friends, etc., to write to the member of Congress, asking them to please support whatever request you're making, to support the legislation, or to support them to sign a letter of support, etc. It's important that you get your friends and families involved as well, and members from the district, because the most effective way for a legislator, or should be, for them to listen, is to listen to their own constituents. So get all your as many people as possible involved. Now, to go to the meeting, I will keep it small. I will keep it like maybe 2 or 3 people initially, and then you need to show that you have support and that there's support for whatever your request is. That's very, very important. And let's see. And then I have there for the follow-up, I have that it's important to, as I was saying, if you want dear colleagues or whatever other requests sign up for legislation, to contact other members of Congress, and basically you need to also do this process as well, because as many members as you can get involved is key to getting success in Congress. And of course, it should be from both parties, Democrats and Republicans. And preferably, the party that is in power you probably should have your stronger advocate leading that effort, because leadership will most likely move your bill if that is the case. So those are my very brief. Julia and Dean told me to keep it brief. So those are my brief comments, and I will be happy to entertain any questions. And like I said, I'll be around afterwards. But basically, it's not a difficult endeavor. It is time-consuming, which we don't have. But it is, in order to get something to a member's desk or attention, it takes a little bit of time and, as I was mentioned, education.
First, I wanted to say thank you for sharing about your son. After a while, I may sound like a little bit of a broken record here, but I'm trying to teach a little bit as well. This is Congress. These are the people you deal with. Some of them a lot younger than you, and you'll see this tomorrow. But they're real people, and they all have stories, and they have something going on in their life, and it may not be a rare disease, or they may not know it yet. But these are the kind of connections you want to make, just as Art has done with his son and the pictures in the story. So thank you for taking time and sharing with us. I think that's really important.
My pleasure.
I wanted to make just one other comment that, and then I'm going to throw it open to questions here. When you said letters of support, I just wanted to relate back, and Julia can probably give some actual numbers here, but I remember when she was doing some of the legislative work a year and 2 years ago, we were talking about the number of phone calls that went into a congressional office. And it doesn't have to be thousands. It doesn't have to be tens of thousands of letters or calls. It's the personal connections you make followed up by perhaps hundreds of letters, because you've laid that groundwork. And when you go into those offices tomorrow and you're sitting there and you're twiddling your thumbs and you're waiting, take a look at the people that are behind the monitors, the interns there. Those interns are the people that answer the calls, and watch how they do their job. It's not scary to call your congressman. They do keep notes. They will give you feedback. They can't promise you anything, but that's where the process starts. So it's all with personal connection.